Hello there, I'm the Gaming Fan, and I'm making a top list for you people who might have taken advantage of the Rainbow Six Siege sale, or assuming you're actually new players and not Smurf players, because I know the odds of that happen. But I did play console with my cousin a couple nights ago, and I know there are plenty of you out there who are definitely newer to the game. So this is a bit of a usefulness list, I guess, of which operators you should use your renown on if you don't feel like spending real money to buy them. This is going to be only DLC defenders, so not the original operators. So, like from Smoke to whoever the last cheap one is. And I will make a separate list for attackers, and I'll make a separate list for the most fun DLC operators if you prioritize that over actually wanting to, like, be serious and win your games. Because I definitely know you players exist, and I'm glad for that. Because Siege would be quite boring without you. So let's make things more interesting with number 5. Number 5 was probably the hardest one to pick of this entire list. I ended up changing them like 3 times. It was one person that was someone else, and I considered someone else. But then finally, I decided to ignore my friend's advice and go with Legion. I'm going with Legion on number 5 because his mines, you essentially put little mines that you accumulate over time on the ground. They are practically invisible, and if you step on them, someone either has to take time to pull the needle out or gain 6 damage every like second and a half. So, the reason I'm picking Legion over other operators is because you could put his mines pretty much just anywhere in doorways, and they're very likely to be useful. And also, his gun, the I forgot the name of it, SMG he's got, is quite forgiving. With I might be mixing it up with a different gun, but I think 28 damage and 900 rounds per minute. But either way, it's a very good gun. And it's also a laser beam. So, high rate of fire SMG, useful gadget. The only downside to Legion is that you do have to be alive to accumulate the mines. So, do anchor with him if you plan on picking him up. Number 4 is going to be Kade. His artillery electro claw can electrify hatches, which in and of itself is useful, but I like to take a bit of a different approach and use the radius of his electro claw to electrocute barbed wire in such an angle that people can't just take the claw out like a bandit battery. No, they have to actually take out the barbed wire and they'll be forced to be taking that little amount of damage. I could not speak. And if they don't want to do that, then it's good drone denial. So his artillery gadget can be used in many clever ways, or you can just flat out throw it on walls. That works too. His guns aren't exactly the most forgiving to use. The TCSG is a bit of a skill cannon, and his AUG has lower rate of fire, but it does have higher damage. But the recoil is a little bit higher than the other SMGs of its type, so a little bit of something to get used to for the SMG, but nothing too bad. So I'm going with Kade for the usefulness of his gadget, and guns that aren't super forgiving, but you can work with them certainly. So, number 3 is going to be Wamai. Simply because extra grenade denial is always a good thing. Essentially, he frisbees these things onto any surface that he wants, and it can deny 1 grenade each. And they accumulate over time, similar to Legion's goo mines. Why he's on this list compared to everybody else? I mean, like I said, extra grenade denial is always a good thing. That's pretty much my only explanation for it. His guns, the MP5K, which Mute has as well, is a laser beam as well. Pretty high rate of fire. And his AUG does the extra damage you might want with the lower rate of fire if you prefer that instead. So, 2 great gun options, as well as a very useful gadget, puts Wamai at number 3. So here's where the ignoring of my friends comes into play. Number 2 and 1. I had to really think about who I wanted to number 2 and 1. I had the operators. I didn't know where to put them, though. I'm going with number 2 being Valkyrie. You can pretty much throw her cameras just anywhere, and they're very likely to be useful in some respect. You can keep one on the objective for bomb plants or something. You could you could throw them outside if you want to. And the amount of intel you can get with these throwable cameras is monstrous. It's ridiculous. In fact, she is banned quite often in the very higher leagues of play just because of how annoying she can be. However, I am talking to newer players here. Newer players simply aren't as likely to get use out of these cameras or at least as good a use as the higher-ups, the high ranks, the pro players. So, with that in mind, that is the reasons that she is at number 2. Also, the reason she is at number 2 is because of her gun. Now, her gun is good if you can aim. But like I said, we're talking about newer players here. Very likely that you aren't going to be able to aim. Because this thing, I swear, you will always, if you don't go for headshots, you will always be left dying and seeing an opponent that has like one shot left to kill. It's happened to me way too many times in what little amount I have played of Valkyrie. So, the gun is annoying. I mean, you can always bring the shotgun. I mean, it's not a great shotgun, but it's a decent shotgun. So, that's an option. But anyways, that is Valkyrie for number 2. So, how about some honorable mentions? We're going to go with the one that my friends recommended that I should put at number 5, and then I decided to ignore. Maestro. So the reason I didn't put Maestro on the list actually has to do with his gadget. It simply requires a bit much on the knowledge side of things to actually get any use out of it. His gun is really good, yes, but that's about the only new player friendly thing he's got going for him. His gadget has to be placed in, actual clever areas that new players just aren't going to make good use out of. I mean, yeah, it can be useful anywhere, but we are also talking about new players. They're very likely to play Ashe. They're very likely to play Sledge. Operators that can actually take care of these things. So I just didn't want to put Maestro on here because I feel like his turrets are just a little bit something that you actually have to know what you're doing to use. His gun's really good, though, for new players, but that's about it. So if you want 80 rounds of just pure high rate of fire, you can get Maestro if you want to. I can't deny that his gun's fun to fire, but I just couldn't put him on the list. Someone else is Goyo, but same thing as Maestro. Fun guns to use, but gadget that requires a bit of experience to actually utilize correctly. Yeah, you can put them anywhere, but it's just not going to be as effective as if someone really good is using them. Mira is another option. The only reason I didn't put Mira on the list is because she's just not as useful on every site, I guess. Yeah, the other operators are just more useful than her. That's the only explanation I've really got for you. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but since I can't remember, we're going to move on. So who is the best DLC operator, in my opinion, for defense? It is going to be Echo. Echo. Oh, I feel like there's an echo in here. I want to die. I think Echo is way better than Valkyrie because, let's say an Echo player, he puts his drones kind of just anywhere and dies. Okay, so you now have 2 invisible cameras as opposed to Valkyrie's 3 visible cameras. Very visible, blue, glowing cameras. So Echo's got the invisible cameras going for him, as well as, if you actually know how to do this, you can actually deny bomb plants if you use his drone sonic burst to hit the person who is planting. You can deny a plant. And if you're in a last minute situation, that could work very, very well. But one of the main reasons putting Echo over Valkyrie, not because of his invisible cameras alone, but also because of his gun. It does 30 damage per bullet, and it does have a lower rate of fire, I believe, but it does have an ACOG. In general, it's just a way more forgiving gun. It's also integrally suppressed. So I just think it's a way more forgiving gun for new players. And I just realized that me saying all these things about the ACOG has no relevance because next season we're getting new sights, and I don't even know what Echo has on it. So either way, he's probably going to have some zoom magnification, so he'll have an advantage over Valkyrie. Because Valkyrie does not have any extra sights, I know that. I mean, his shotgun is good, but it's very inconsistent, so use at your own risk. But yeah, you can use Echo pretty much however you want. If you want to stay and deny bomb plants, you can do that. If you want to use it selfishly and use it for kills, you can also do that. So that is why I put Echo at number 1. It's just he's more new player friendly. I'd rather a new player be on Echo than on Valkyrie. So that is my top 5 list for useful DLC defenders. I hope this helped you in any way, because next we're going to be going with the attackers. That'll probably be a much harder list to make, I think. Anyways, I hope you found this useful. Argue with each other in the comments, and I will see you next time when we try to break titanium. Yeet.